I'm going to shift gears here because my background is mainly I've been involved in practically every metal except coal, and I guess coal is not a metal in that perspective, but uh, the coal industry uh, is something that you guys have talked about and been involved in, and maybe you can educate me a bit on the industry in Australia and coal in general.
Yeah, happy to, Roy. Look, the coal industry here is, one of Australia's biggest exports. Queensland is predominantly your metallurgical coal, or some people refer to it as hard coking coal, effectively steel making coal. So that's the Queensland has some thermal coal as well, but predominantly it's that premium metallurgical coal. And then in New South Wales, so closer to where we are in Sydney today, up in the Hunter Valley, you've got premium thermal coal for the energy market. So there's a huge industry in New South Wales on that side of things. And we've been working in the industry for about a dozen years in that space together, and it's critical to Australia's economy, and it's also one of the biggest employers in the country as well.
We see some of the negative things about coal from, I think, people that really don't understand not only the importance of it, but all the different things it does. But I see a note here that you host a celebrating coal event, and that sounds very interesting.
Yeah, I think we call it a coal industry event that we host annually, and that kind of came off the back of that. There is some negative perceptions around coal in, I guess, the broader population, obviously not so much in the mining industry itself. And I think a lot of that comes from a lack of awareness and education. And it's something I'm pretty passionate about. So we decided to host the event annually not just for the coal miners, but all the professional services and consultants and advisors and people around the industry, and even get investors and things back in the room, because as I said before, this steel making coal, there's no change to that for decades to come. Like, our Queensland's coal's some of the best in the world, and obviously our iron ore out of Australia is a big factor as well, but all of the steel makers need that product for the steel that develops the world.
So there's obviously it's always a topical point, coal, but there is a little bit to learn about it. But there and there is the thermal coal, which we use for power. I think we know that the world is starting to move away from that, but it's going to take a while before we're not relying on that. There's a lot of third world developing countries that still rely on cheap, reliable coal power. So it's one of those things that it's here at the moment, but the coal we need for steel is obviously going to be around for a lot longer.
Yeah, and even the thermal coal products out of Australia are the absolute premium products. So, if as the industry does go away from that over time, if you're getting that coal from Australia, it is a higher quality product than stuff out of Indonesia and other other countries. So I think as the world does wind that back, and there's obviously plenty of targets around that, we're going to see a change in that space. But I think for Queensland's steel-making coal, there's, decades and decades of work ahead. And we talked before about, a lot of jobs. And I think something like, we worked quite closely with the Queensland Resources Council on hosting that event recently. I think it's something like $94 billion or something, the total direct and indirect contribution to Queensland alone as a state. So it's a massive industry, and probably incorrectly labelled at times, as being not a good thing, coal mining, whereas we think it's, pretty critical to developing the world and the infrastructure we need here in Australia and around the world.